My name is Deborah Samuels, and I'm thrilled to be here for our first ever program called Ouchigohan, a word that I love but had never heard before. Thank you, Naoko-san. It just has such a warm, atakai feeling to it, and really Japanese home cooking. This is the first of 3 series. We'll be doing onigiri today, which most of you are familiar with, but taking it up another level. Next month will be nikujaga, another very homey style meal. And then the third one will be a matcha cake and matcha latte during December and Christmas time. So very briefly, I started going to Japan in 1972, way before several of you were born, as a college student, a study abroad program with Colgate University. I went with my husband. We were allowed to get married. Our parents let us get married in college at age 20, Gakusei Keikon. And 50 years later, we are still married. And he is a professor at MIT, and his field is Japanese politics, and mine is Japanese food. So these moments in your life when you have a chance to go abroad can be obviously life-changing. And so that's how I got my start in Japan. And then over the past 5 decades, we've lived there for 12 years with 1 child, with 2 children. And that is where I learned how to cook Japanese. I speak Japanese for the most part, very good cooking Japanese. So I feel like it's helped me to have a really good life there. So that's just a little bit about me and why I am teaching you about Japanese cooking. Excuse me. But today, as Yuko said, I'm with the Wa-Shokuiku program, which the umbrella is Table for 2. And we teach about Japanese cuisine, Japanese culture, and Japanese nutrition. So all the programs we do have a 10-minute component, an educational component to them regarding the subject that we're dealing with. And today it's rice and onigiri. So it's a short PowerPoint presentation, lots of slides and food pictures, and then we will get right into cooking. And let's get started. I'm going to share my screen with you. And anytime you have any question, please feel free to ask, and someone will help to answer you who is with us, or I can. For right now, if you'll just mute, and let me just get my share up here. I have to go back. That's the last slide. Sorry, everybody. Whoops. And I need to get back up. Whoops. Sorry about this. I started at the last slide, so I need to go back up to the beginning. And there we go. Okay, here we are. Ouchigohan, part 1. Let's make onigiri. Today we're going to be making homemade salmon flakes, salmon flaku, which is a wonderful thing to have in your refrigerator. It's one of those standard traditional Japanese additions to onigiri. And we'll also be doing Yaki Onigiri, which is grilled rice balls. So today we are going to do rice. We're going to talk about Japanese rice. And this is Wa-Shokuiku, Learn, Cook, Eat Japanese. So I'd like to welcome you to Wa-Shokuiku. Konnichiwa, still konnichiwa. And when we're teaching face-to-face with kids in schools, we always like to add a little bit of element of language, teach them about how to say sensei. Most of them know because they're doing some sort of martial arts, but we teach them the proper protocol, that when a teacher comes into the room, it's sensei, konnichiwa. And so that is a little bit part of our educational process here. So what is Wa-Shokuiku? I'm sure many of you speak Japanese or at least know some Japanese words. Wa-Shoku is Japanese cuisine, and Shokuiku is Japanese food education. Japanese food and food education. We put it together and came out with Wa-Shokuiku. All Japanese students learn from kindergarten all the way through high school. They have a wonderful food education program, and we decided to design something after that. They learn about nutrition, manners, appreciation toward people who grow and make the food environment, as well as cooking. About Japanese food, again, you probably all know some of these things, but I'd just like to go over it very briefly. You know, what makes Japanese food Japanese? What makes Italian food Italian, or Chinese food Chinese? There are usually some very stable condiments and seasonings that each culture has. Certainly they're shared among others, but they kind of identify the cuisine. And so in Japan, you have soy sauce, which is very common, miso, sake, a rice-based wine, mirin, a sweet rice-based wine, and a rice vinegar. So many of the foods come from rice because it is a staple in Japan. Another important element of Japanese cuisine is the 4 seasons. People look forward to food. Now you can get things at any time of the year, but it tastes better in the season. And so plate decoration, foods that are served are all based on seasonality: spring, summer, fall, winter. Fortunately, we're able to get some of the wonderful kabocha squash now here in the United States. I tell people it's like saying pumpkin, pumpkin, because that's how you say pumpkin in Japanese is kabocha. So seasonality is very important. And the other very critical element in Japanese cuisine when they're designing a plate or a bento box is color. If you ask any mom, and sorry, I don't mean to be sexist about it, but moms are still sort of the major bento makers. The first thing they think about when they are constructing a meal is color. And it's usually basically 5 colors: red, white, yellow, green, and black. And they all stand for different, it's not as though they're like red is carbohydrate and, you know, white is carbohydrate and red is a protein. They stand for different types of foods. And if you have these 5 colors in a meal or on a plate, you are on your way to a balanced meal. So another thing, Japanese cuisine is presented very differently than us, than what we have, with a 1 large plate and a protein, a carbohydrate, and a veg on the plate. So we talk about what is a typical Japanese meal. There is a term, ichiju sansai, which is a little old-fashioned. Not everybody practices it this day, but it's usually soup, rice, and 3 dishes. And the protein sort of has the same value as the side dishes as well. So it doesn't stand out as much. So we look at this and we say, what do these 2 meals have in common? And to go quickly, I will just do that with you. Miso soup. Now, either of these meals, you know, the one on the left could even be a breakfast as well, because soup and rice are eaten at any time of the day. A main dish, protein, grilled fish, meat, but in smaller portions than we would serve here. Side dishes, and Naoko-san taught me a new word today. Naoko-san, how do you say the side dishes?
Hashiyasume.
Hashiyasume. Okay, very good. And the main dish, I was told, is okazu. I think I had it backwards, but anyway, the number of side dishes also complement the meal. And rice, which is today's theme. So you could still have rice, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but it is a staple in Japan, as is bread here. So that is our subject today. But how much rice is too much rice? Or how much serving of a carbohydrate is too much of a serving? Let's see if you can guess. This is what we ask people. It's not what you want to eat, but it's what is you're supposed to eat. A, B, or C? 1 fist, 2 fists. That's not 2 peanut, but it's just to depict how many, or 4 servings. And you would be really amazed at how many kids go for an interesting number here. So if you put up a fist and tell me how much, which is your proper serving? Which of course is ideal, but not always happen, because I have been at a table where young men will go okawari, or gohan for the second serving. That is acceptable. So now we're going to get ready to cook, everyone. Just briefly, today's menu is onigiri in 2 forms. We'll be making the sakura flakes. If you don't have shiso leaves, you can use nori today. And we have the Yaki Onigiri. I always talk to people about food allergies because when you're dealing with ingredients that are unfamiliar to people, you really need to know what's in it. And since everybody is home, you know what's in your food. And let's see, I think I have one. So today we're going to be making onigiri, which is been around forever in Japan. Rice cultivation begins close to, several thousand years ago, coming from Korea and China. Onigiri, the oldest onigiri was discovered back in BC 1, I think, because that's what it says. And basically it was something that was taken with people. It was a portable meal, very easy. Articles about it you find in Heian Times, the oldest article about it. You also find samurai carrying onigiri stuffed with pickled plums as a antibacterial, which would keep things safe, and also providing the energy that a warrior would need. So this is just kind of a fun timeline going ahead. School meals started in the late 1800s with onigiri, and jump up to the late 70s to 7-Eleven and convenience stores. And they figured out a very clever way to wrap it so that the rice and the nori were separated. So when you pulled on these tabs, which some need a PhD to open up, I always make a mess of it, the nori stays crunchy. Most famous filling, tuna mayo, around the 80s, just tuna and mayonnaise, sometimes a little spice to it, but that's very popular. And now all different kinds of onigiri, onigirazu, which is like a rice sandwich, spam omusubi, it's really becoming quite popular. So, whoops, that's a little bit ahead of us. We're before the itadakimasu. So, is everybody ready to cook? All right. So what we're going to do today is we're going to be making the salmon flakes and the Yaki Onigiri. We're going to not do it because we have to salt some things first. We're going to go a little bit out of order. So what I'd like you to do first, I'm going to switch my camera so that you can see what I have here. Oh, this is my favorite onigiri. It's a crochet onigiri. I also like to crochet. So this is something I have for fun. So let's share my camera and go to that. And everybody take out your cucumbers. All right. And we are going to get started and salting these. So we are using a Persian cucumber or a Japanese cucumber. This is a Persian cucumber, sometimes called an Indian cucumber or a mini cucumber. And the reason that I use this, if you can get a Japanese cucumber, that's great. But the point is that you need to have the skin on it. And the skin is very thin in this. If you don't have that and you only have a Western style cucumber, you're going to scrape the skin off, okay? So this is the simplest of pickles called shiozuke, which is a salted cucumber. So all you're going to do is take your salt, and the best salt for this is kosher salt. Okay, if everybody can see that, all right? And it's about a teaspoon or so, but you're just gonna take your salt and you're just gonna rub it all over your cucumber like this. You may need a little bit more. And you're gonna keep it in the plate, and what it's going to do is it's going to draw out liquid, and in 30 minutes, we are gonna have a crispy cucumber. After that, it gets sliced. You can add seasonings like shoyu, soy sauce, and lemon juice. But today, we're just gonna have a nice, simple one. So just roll your cucumber in the salt, and that's it. Set it aside, okay? So I'm done with the cucumber. Everybody's with me. Just set it aside for later. And we will now go to the salmon, kind of the main star of the show today. So this is my half pound of salmon, and this is going to turn into this, okay? Fresh salmon is best. I've never done it or heard it done with canned salmon, but you will see. And what I do is I make way more than I need for the onigiri, and then I keep it in a jar in the refrigerator, salmon flakes, okay? And you can certainly purchase these in any Japanese store. They're not terribly expensive, but they have a little bit more in it than I would like to have in it. So I've got this under control, and it's really quite delicious when you make it yourself. So we are going to salt the salmon. And you also, I think it's about half a teaspoon. You'll salt the top like this, and it's supposed to stay salted for 15 to 30 minutes, but we don't really have that kind of time today, so we're just gonna let it sit for about 5 minutes before we cook it. May I ask, how many people are going to use a microwave? And is anybody going to be using the stove? Naoko-san or Yuko-san, I'm not able to see everybody. So can anybody tell me, is everybody okay with the microwave?
Sure.
I'm gonna use a stove.
Pardon?
Peter is using stove.
Peter, you're using a stove. Okay. So Peter, if you're using a stove, you're gonna get sort of a smallish nonstick pan and just put a little bit of oil in the bottom, okay? And you're gonna heat up the pan for about 30 seconds on medium heat, like a medium, okay? And you'll be doing the same thing we're doing, which is skin side down. As you can see here, I've got the skin here. The reason I asked you to use the skin today is that the skin has a little bit of fat between the flesh and the skin, and that adds great flavor to it, okay? So I am going to be using a microwave, and I'm going to, what we're going to do is cook it. It'll be par cooked, about 3 minutes in the microwave. It may take you about 6 minutes on the stove. So Peter, you might want to get started with yours. you're going to cover this with either parchment paper, or I have a very fun, cool silicone otoshi buta. Futa, cover in Japanese, is Japanese, and buta means pig. So this is a joke, otoshi buta, and it's my favorite cover. It's a silicone cover, and I will be putting it in the microwave like this. Okay, so let's make believe a few minutes have passed, and let's put these in the microwave, and we'll get started with that. Okay, 3 minutes on high. Okay, so everybody's ready and getting in there. And I'll set these aside. And I'm going to bring out my seasonings now. I'm going to be cooking this in after we've cooked it once, then we are going to be cooking it a second time. And in that way, we are going to be adding the flavor and drying it out at the same time. This is a special technique. It's a nimoro. You're sort of boiling it, and you're setting flavor into the salmon at the same time. Okay, so if I can have everybody get ready, we have your, whoops, here we go. Mirin and sake, okay? These are the first two items that are going to go into the pot when we're cooking the salmon. And let me just make sure I have everybody's things. So we have 1 tablespoon of sake and 1 tablespoon of mirin. If you don't have mirin, you can use 2 teaspoons of sugar, okay? Japanese food does use a fair amount of sugar with, you know, actual sugar itself, and then the sweet rice wine. And then you're going to have a teaspoon of soy sauce. So the point is here also is that you really want this to look very beautiful. So there's not too much soy sauce in it. It will just add some flavor to it. And of course, 1.5 cups of cooked short or medium grain rice. So does everybody have their rice ready? I'm assuming that you do, and that everybody knows. I'll just show you my rice. We don't need to take this out of the rice cooker yet, but this is my rice. It is Japanese generally use a short grain rice, the Japonica variety. It's a sticky rice. Some people call it sticky rice, and a lot of people here call it sushi rice. You all probably know these things, but I'll just repeat it anyway in case someone doesn't know. The reason this is not sushi rice. Sushi rice is Japanese short grain rice that has a dressing on it of vinegar, sugar, and salt. And that's what makes it sushi rice. But here in the US, we call this sushi rice because this is what you make sushi with, okay? And it's always a difficult explanation or a long-winded explanation to people, but this will be our rice today. The rice is cooked. We will make the flakes, and then we are going to mix them together to make our ball. Today we're mixing this in the rice completely, but a lot of times when people make onigiri, they just stuff it right in the middle, okay? But today we are going to mix it in. All right, so I'm going to put this back in my rice cooker. And how's everybody doing? Are you checking your salmon? I'm going to check mine now. You will need to have a plate and 2 forks ready because we are going to be flaking the salmon before we cook it. And we will also be removing the skin. Okay, so make sure that you have a fork and a plate ready. And let me check my salmon.
And while we're waiting, a little trivia, you know, a little detail that's not that important, but kind of fun to know is when you look at meeting, actually the real meeting, if you can ever find it, you can only find it in a alcohol store.
Yes.
Because it is cooking wine. So when you find meeting in a grocery store, it always says meeting who, which means like meeting. It tastes the same. It's you know, I use it interchangeably in my Japanese cooking at home, but just a little bit of detail so you can pretend like you're like the Japanese food connoisseur, right? The things that you buy at the grocery store is meeting who. The real meeting you can only get at an alcohol liquor store. So when I want real meeting, I actually go to a liquor store to buy it.
Can you buy that here?
Yes, Deb, the liquor store next to, this is very local information, the liquor store next to Whole Foods in Fresh Pond has real meeting.
Yes, okay.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I have Mitsukan mirin, which actually has an alcohol volume on it,
Oh,
which is actually gotten from Star Market.
Oh, so does this Star Market also sell alcohol?
Yeah, I actually, I honestly don't know. I don't drink alcohol except for sake.
Oh. So from what I
can't answer that
understand,
question, but it's Mitsukan, and it does have an alcohol volume listed on the bottom.
so from see, like the one that Deb has says meeting who like meeting. Right. From what I understand, in US, you can't distribute alcohol if you don't have an alcohol license. That's the reason why you can't find real meeting.
Wine license. I'm not sure, but I was able to find it at Star.
That's wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I think I like your Star Market.
And you can get aji mirin at Wegmans that has 8% alcohol in it.
They also sell alcohol there.
Right. So now I have more other places where I can get real meeting.
Okay.
Question.
So here we are. My salmon is ready. I can tell it's pretty much white through there. I touch the top and it's firm. Okay. And Peter, how about yours? Is yours ready? All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take salmon flakes. Whoops, let me just turn this around a little bit. I'm going to remove the salmon from the skin. Okay, and because Meide taberu, you eat with your eyes, you don't want any dark parts here to ruin this, the very common saying in Japan. So you want it to be very clean looking, and you want to remove anything that would be brown, okay, or otherwise make it not look attractive. All right, and you're just going to take your salmon and you're going to see that it's almost all cooked. We're going to finish cooking it as we put it into the pan with the seasonings. But before we do that, mind your hands with your plates from the microwave. They can be very, very hot. I'm just going to move mine over here. And now we're just going to start flaking it. 2 forks like this. And it doesn't have to be too small here because it will get smaller as we flake it in the stove, in the pot. Okay. How's everybody doing? Everybody with me? Okay. Any questions? Keep asking. That's how we learn. I always learn something every single time that I teach. from somebody. So here you also want to take a look and see if there are any bones in here. And I see one right here, and remove the bone. I hate bones. Okay. I hate bones and I hate eggshells. That's my little food fetish that I'm admitting to. And so here is another bone. Right. And we will have an opportunity to remove more as we go. Has everybody got their salmon flaked? We going? All right.
We see thumbs up.
Thumbs up. Excellent, everybody. Excellent. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a pan or a pot, a small pot. I don't want a large frying pan because I don't want to dry this out too quickly. I want the seasonings to really get into the food. So I want to have a surface that's smaller, okay? And so I think maybe it's about a quart pot and maybe a 5-inch bottom here. So I'm going to put the salmon in here. Yes.
If we don't have sake, but we do have the mirin ku, what can we substitute for the sake?
You could use white wine. Do you have that? And
No.
if people don't drink alcohol, just add a little water, okay?
Okay, thank
But
you.
I would suggest the wine if you have it, okay? All right, so now what we're going to do is add your, so, well, I'm going to put it on the stove first. So here we are. And let me get this. Okay, and just move this a little bit closer so that you can see this. Now go and you go. I am blanking out on the Japanese term for it's the method of cooking and liquid into something.
Miru?
Not need, it's nijiru, but I thought there's another word. Let me just make sure I get this turned on first. There we go. Okay. There's another word. I'll look it up afterwards. But
Is it nitsumeru?
Nitsumeru. Nitsumeru. Thank you very much, Nitsumeru. So this is a technique in Japanese cuisine where you're cooking the liquid completely into the ingredient. So what I'm going to do now, you can see me, I'll move this over in a second. I'm adding my sake, and I'm adding, well, that was the meeting, and the sake first, okay? And generally when you add mirin and sake, first you're cooking out the alcohol. Usually you do that by boiling it in the pot first, but I really want the flavors to get into the salmon. So I'm going to just move my plate over so you can get a little bit more of a view of what I'm doing. I have not put in the shoyu yet, so we're not going to do that. But what we're going to do is continue to flake.
That was the sake and mirin 1 tablespoon each.
Yes, I'm pretty sure that was 1 tablespoon each. Let me just make sure I got my here. Yep, 1 tablespoon sake, 1 tablespoon mirin. If you do not have mirin, 2 teaspoons of sugar. Okay. Got to be careful with the sugar because that will caramelize and make things turn a little brown. You just lower your heat to medium. I'm an impatient cook, so sometimes I put things on high when they should be on medium. But you really want them cooked. And you want to continue making and breaking up. And the other thing you're doing here is you're drying out the salmon. as well at the same time. So there are multiple things going on. This. And just by the fact that you're mixing it means that it's going, the flakes are going to get smaller and smaller. Okay. How's everybody doing? Want to make sure you have enough time.
So Deb, you mentioned nitsumeru is a Japanese cooking method. Yes, it's absolutely, we very much often nitsumeru things when we're cooking, but you know, the first thing that came to my mind was I was nitsumeteta. I was nitsumete, nitsumeru tofu skins the other day to make inarizushi.
Yeah.
Yes. And of course, just like you, I'm an impatient cook, so I had it on actually medium when I had to have it on low medium. And guess what? It burned. So it's always good to be careful, I think, when we are nitsumeteru, especially something with soy sauce, right? Very easy.
Soy sauce and sugar.
Sugar, yes, because
that one that will really get something brown.
Yes, that one definitely had sugar. So very true.
You can see, so everybody can see my flaked salmon. Okay, I've lowered my flame to like a medium low, and I just continue to do that. But you can see now how small the flakes are. And they are so fresh and delicious. You can taste them, but I want to get them just a little bit drier before I add the soy sauce. Okay.
I'm just like 1 minute behind you all.
Okay, take your time, take your time. Can you show us where are you, Peter? Are you Peter? Is that Peter who's a minute behind?
Yes, that's Peter.
I have the flakes inside the pan with the Yaki and the mirin right now. I had to cook this salmon just a minute longer.
Cool. Okay. Yeah. Sometimes on the stove, that's what happens. And microwaves tend to be very high. Mine is high heat or high power. That's what I mean. Okay. So now I think I've got it to the right degree of dryness. And I'm just going to add a teaspoon of soy sauce. And I will just tell everybody, I'm sure you also know this, but when you're measuring your seasonings, do not measure over the pot. If you make a mistake, you got salty brown stuff. So always measure your amounts off the side. That's just a little teachery thing. All right, in goes the shoyu. And we'll spread it out. I gotta be careful because I see the bottom of my pot is getting a little bit dark. I'm gonna go lower. Okay. So what I did was I turned my head for a minute, and this got a little bit dark at the bottom here, but we're just going to keep going. And dry it out a little bit, go low, very low, everybody. How's your flaking coming?
I see thumbs up.
I have a question. I meant to ask it earlier. I accidentally cooked long grain rice. I have some short grain rice in right now. It'll take a few minutes. I accidentally cooked long grain rice.
Have you did it with long grain rice? Did you have you ever made onigiri before?
No, though I have read instructions on how to make it about a couple of dozen times. I was out rushing to get some ingredients because traffic is horrendous today, and called the wife. I told her the wrong type.
Well, that's okay, Peter. Don't worry about it. If you get to make the short grain rice, cool. And if not, the long grain rice with this sprinkled on top of it's going to be delicious. And you can make a great fried rice with the long grain rice too. So don't worry about it. If you don't have the right rice, no problem. We just have to be flexible. Okay, so mine is looking ready.
Deb, does it have to be non-stick fry pan?
For the Yaki Onigiri, it just makes it easier. Just
For the salmon?
for the salmon, not necessarily, but you have to oil it fairly well. It's better if it's a non-stick frying pan, but you know, if you have a cast iron pan, you could do that too. So mine is done. I'm going to turn it off and I'm going to ask to see everybody's so that we can move forward on this. If you can show me, I'm just going to stop my share for 1 minute so I can see everybody's gallery view here. Oh, nice. Ooh, beautiful. Woohoo, well done. Okay.
Nice.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Very impressed. All right. We are cruising along. I'm going to go back to my share and on to the next. Okay. So what we'll do now is just take the salmon flakes, put it in a bowl on the side. This. And the bottom of my pot is a little dark, so I'm going to try to avoid taking the salmon from that, at least for the class. This is the my husband's portion for later. And he'll be very mad at me because that's a messy pot to clean. All right, here we go. Off to the side.
I have a quick question.
Yes,
Mine is still a little wet at the bottom. Should I cook it a little longer?
yes, cook it a little bit longer. You want to cook it a little bit longer for it to dry out. If it's wet, it will make the rice ball wet and it will be very hard to form. Okay, so now get that, and I'm just going to move everything down a little bit with a little bit more space. And I'm going to get my rice ready. So for this, we're going to use a cup of rice, and we're going to put in about 3 tablespoons of the salmon flakes, and that cup will make 2 rice balls. Okay. Today, we're going to make 1 together, and you can make 1 afterwards. All right. So let's get that ready. I don't know if anybody has any sesame seeds, but this is also something nice to add to this. It adds a different texture, a little crunch and a different flavor. Totally optional. And pardon?
How much for the sesame seeds?
Oh, the sesame seeds would probably be about a teaspoon or so. You know, it's just going to be very small amount. So I'm going to fill my bowl now with plain cooked rice. So if everybody can get to that point together. All right. I don't want to go too quickly for you, but here we are. All right. I'm just going to let mine cool down a little bit. I'll show you my modern shamoji. This is my plastic shamoji that has dimples in it, so it keeps the rice from sticking. The other thing I love about it is that it stands up like this. It's won an award for design in Japan, and well deserved. Okay, does everybody have their rice with them? Ready with that? All right. And so for this, I'm going to use a tablespoon. And I'm going to start with 2 tablespoons, okay? You can always add, but taking away is tough. So I'm going to just see what it looks like. I know it's 3, but I'm going to start with 2. Okay, and I'm just going to add it to my rice because, as you know, restraint is a big part of Japanese culture. Not stuffing things for the maximum amount of things that you get in it. And so you may feel like you're getting a hint of something as opposed to a burst of flavor. So I'm going to start out with that, and I'm going to just mix in, not by smashing, but just by slashing a little bit and flipping the rice. This is a slightly too big to do that with, so I'll just use a fork. And that. Oh, I forgot to tell everybody, take a taste of your salmon flakes and see what you think of them, okay? They've got this lovely flavor. Let me see. There. Taste. Mmm. Yum. Okay. That's very good. And so this is what 2 tablespoons look like to me. And I think I have a little bit less than a cup, but that's enough for me, okay? If you're going to add sesame seeds, now is the time to do it. You'll just sprinkle it in like that. Okay. And again, folding very carefully around. Okay. So I'm leaving it with 2 tablespoons. Okay, is everybody with me? Okay, so I'm going to set my salmon aside. And now we're going to make the rice into an onigiri shape. Traditionally, this is done with your hands. Onigiri is one of the foods that is made by hand and is supposed to convey, transmit the mother's love through your hands, your obachan's love, your grandmother. It is the very traditional way to do it. But when you use your hands, it can be very messy and very sticky for people who are not actually, really used to doing it. Even though when the Japanese do it, they wet their hands with water and they put a little bit of salt on each hand, and then they form the onigiri. Today, we're doing the Japanese mom trick. I didn't make this up. Is we're putting some saran wrap into a teacup or a custard cup, any kind of a cup that you have like that. Okay. So it gives you some freedom and to, put things in carefully and to also not get your hands completely messed up. And this is particularly useful when we work with children. So we always do it with kids with saran wrap and very often demonstrate. So I'm going to fill this up. It should be about a half a cup. Remember, your fist, depends on how big you are, but anyway, I'll do about a half a cup, like that. Everybody with me? Has anybody not made onigiri before? Is anybody making onigiri for the first time?
Yeah.
Yes, okay, all right, Margot, woohoo. Anybody else?
Lance said it's his first time. Lance,
My first time too, yeah.
All right, all right. This is no fail onigiri, guys, no fail. Okay, so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna take 2 opposite ends, and pick it up like this. And then you'll take the other 2 ends and pick it up like this and pull it right out of your cup. Okay. And you should be able to feel the warmth of the rice now. And what I'm going to do is just twist it a little bit, 1, 2, 3. And I'm just going to mold it with my hands first, kind of like a snowball. Okay. And you'll see that the rice is now sticking together. And we are ready to make a triangle shape. All right, I'm going to have another trivia quiz momentarily, and asking people if they know why the onigiri is shaped like a triangle. But first, let's make the triangle. So I'm right hand dominated. My left hand is going to hold the base of the onigiri like that. And my right hand is going to form an L or an arrow, or however you want to describe it, like this, okay? And you're just going to lightly press on either side and form a triangle with the top. A little hard to do to show you with this camera, but here we go. And then you're going to flip. So the next point comes, okay? And you're going to flip and do it again. So I'm going to just turn my hands to this orientation, and you'll see that I've got the roof on top, the floor of the house on the bottom, and you just bring your hands up like this with a very light one. Flip, press, flip, press. And sometimes when we're dealing with children, we tell them to put it down here, and we just make a triangle like that. Okay, there are all sorts of ways to get to this. So, does anybody know why onigiri is shaped like a triangle? Anybody want to venture a guess? This is my triangle today. It can also be, nigiru is to press, musubu is to shape, is that correct, Yuko-san?
Yes.
Is to mold and press, so it can either be called omusubi or onigiri. All right, there are two names for it.
So about the triangle,
Yes,
is it due to the rule of threes?
say that again.
Is it due to threes?
Oh, to freeze, did you say?
Three. Number three.
Oh, number three. Oh, Sankaku. I don't know. I don't know about that one. I don't think so. But
Mount Fuji?
closer. Yes, it's a shape of a mountain. And a mountain in Japanese Shinto is a religion, is a sacred thing. And after 50 years of making onigiri, I never knew that. I learned that this week. So that's good. So my rice ball is done. Rice triangle.
Actually, talk about, learning new things. As I have started working for the Japan Society of Boston, given the fact that I did grow up in Japan, I didn't know that the way people call onigiri or omusubi is also regional, wasn't it, Naoko-san? There's a regionality to that. I'm from the Kanto region. Generally speaking, onigiri is onigiri in Kanto, but I believe, was it in Tohoku region? They usually call it omusubi, or it's regional, I remember.
Yes,
Yep.
I believe Kansai area tend to be omusubi.
Kansai area tend to call it
And
omusubi.
Kanto areas triangle, but Kansai areas more like a circle. And then Tohoku areas more like a cylinder.
And wasn't it the reason why? Because Tohoku region make more rice, and rice when they deliver rice, it comes in cylinder. So that's why rice in the Tohoku region are more cylinder to kind of like represent wealth. And so there's always something you learn. I think Naoko-san, and even for you too, right? We didn't know this until we did a little research on onigiri.
Yes, JSB makes me learn new things.
So here we are. We have our shake onigiri.
Wonderful.
And you can either put on a piece of nori, which if you have that, we'll do that now, or you can use a shiso leaf to add like this. And it's not just for decoration and it's not just for flavor, but it makes it easier to pick up as well. So if you have a piece of nori, you can use, I know everybody's familiar with little snack nori now, and those are usually a Korean nori that have a sesame oil flavor to it. They're very yummy. But regular nori, usually you have a sheet like this that has perforations. This is what is used to make roll sushi. And if you notice, the nori has a shiny side and a rough side. Okay, the rough side is what goes against the rice and it grabs to the rice. And so you'll see the size of your onigiri, and you'll very easily, if you have fresh nori, you can just fold it. You don't even have to cut it. So this is super fresh nori, and I just fold it back twice. And I'm able to carefully pull this aside like that. Okay, and you can either have it so it goes all the way up and around, or you can cut it so that it is exactly the right size. But here is my first onigiri. Okay, so I'm just going to leave it like that for now. How's everybody doing? Can you show us your creations for the two people who have not made it before? Let me see how you're doing. Okay. Yay, Jen. All right. Nice, Emma. Super,
Nice,
Peter.
Peter.
Woohoo. Okay. Nicole, excellent. Nice, nice, nice. I'm going to torture you guys and not allow you to eat it yet, but we'll be eating shortly, I promise. Sophie, how you doing? Are you cooking along with us?
I'm just here to watch.
You're watching. Okay, no problem. And there are a couple of people that are not, I can't see, but I hope you're enjoying. All right, well done. Okay. So we're going on to the next onigiri, which is going to be our Yaki Onigiri. I'm just going to put this aside. Oh, I'm going to just show you one thing here. As far as let me get back to my share screen and move along here. I just want to show you, and I'm sure that you saw in the picture that there was a cute little flower leaf. That's a maple leaf, momiji, or at least it's a five leaf, not flower, but a leaf for the fall. And I'll just show you, Japanese have something called nukigata, which are very hard to see that way. You can see this is a cherry blossom. You may not use that in October. No, no, no. Seasonality, okay? But you can use a momiji. You cannot use an ume, a plum, or anything. So keep your seasonal shapes together here, gang. All right, just wanted to point that out. All right, on to our Yaki Onigiri. Let me clear off my plate here.
And while Deb is getting ready for the Yakionigiri, you know, Deb, you mentioned, yes, in Japan, mothers, grandmothers, fathers, grandfathers, uncles, aunts, when they're making onigiri, they usually make by hand. But there is actually a good reason why. Like, for instance, I wrap onigiri in my kids' obento every day, my kids' lunch every day, and I actually make it with wrap, with saran wrap, because the thing is, when they eat it too, they don't have to touch it with their hands. So I think there is a purpose for making onigiri with a saran wrap.
Yes. Okay, so I'm going to ask everybody to get your rice together, and I am going to show you another magic trick here. If you have 2 cups, 2 custard cups, Yuko-san, do you know what I'm going to do? Naoko-san, do you know what I'm going to do? Yes? Okay. I'm going to show you how to make an onigiri with no saran wrap and no hands. Okay? And then we'll get that going here. We've gotten this question many times. This is also something I didn't know, but I'm going to take a little bit of water. And I have no idea scientifically why this works, but I'm going to wet 2 cups, could be custard cups, plastic drinking cups, whatever. And I'm going to put some rice, again, about a half a cup, into the cup. And now I am going to put a cup on top, put the other cup on top of it, and I'm going to shake and move this all around. And something about centrifugal force and sticky rice and whatever it is. Et voila, we've got an onigiri ball. Okay, super fun to do with kids. We are going to have to make it mold it a little bit more, but I just wanted to show you that very cool trick. So while we're waiting with that, I'd like everybody to get their non-stick frying pans ready. And let me put that here. Like that. And for this, you're going to need a little bit of oil, just a little bit of oil. Okay. And we have 1 tablespoon of sake, 1 tablespoon of mirin and 1 tablespoon of soy sauce that we're going to be doing to create a nice little glaze for it. So I'm going to measure here. Oops, let me clean this off. And my 1 tablespoon of soy sauce and 1 tablespoon of mirin. Again, I'm not going to measure that mirin over the soy sauce. I'm going to measure it off to the side. It's here. All right, everybody can start their engines, and we're going to mix the glaze up like that. And I'll put this on the side. I'll put in about a teaspoon. Let me just wipe this out so I make sure that it is completely clean. And you can do 2 onigiri, 2 yaki onigiri at the same time. So I'm going to turn on.
You said it was just soy sauce and mirin.
1 tablespoon soy sauce, 1 tablespoon mirin. And what is very helpful is if you have a brush for this. Okay. I'm just going to put this on low now because I'm not quite ready to put the oil or anything in yet. I just want to make sure that I have everything on here. Here's my rice. So we're going to be forming that into triangles. So my little rice trick before, I just need to make it more stable. So form your rice into a ball, and then into a triangle. Okay. Have that ready. Because what you don't want is for this to fall apart. So a little bit stronger like that.
Is this just plain rice?
This is just plain rice, plain rice. You can, today we're making a shoyu, a soy sauce and mirin topping. Another very popular topping is miso.
Oh, so delicious.
Mirin, which is also quite delicious, mixed with a little bit of scallions. Okay, so let's see how the pot is doing. Important thing is to have everything all ready so that you're not racing around looking for something. I'm going to put in a little bit of oil. You can use sesame oil. I'm also told that gives it a very nice toasty flavor to it, but I'm just going to use regular canola oil, and I have a little bit of paper towel. I'm just going to put it around like this, and getting ready to put my onigiri in. This yaki onigiri is very often served at the end of a night of drinking at an izakaya. And it's a very comforting food. I'm told that rice absorbs alcohol. And you will now hear the rice kind of sizzle a little bit against that, right? And I'm gonna get my,
Can I have just one moment?
yes,
I have been a cook for many, many, many years.
yes.
Now I did cooking for like 2 decades. Can you see the top of my oil container?
Hold on one second. Let's see if I can find you, Peter. Where
I
are
don't want
you?
to.
Oh, yeah, wow.
Okay. If you make a triangle in the front and then a small triangle in the back, you can
Yeah.
easily pour without having all those spills, and it's much more controllable.
Oh, thank you. That is a great, show it to me again.
That's the air in.
Oh, very cool. Okay,
And that works for anything that's covered like this. I
okay.
figured I'd share that because you said you learn everything, something new every
Yes.
time.
Today, it's like 10 new things, so thank you very much.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Yes. Okay, so now this is grilling. Keep it low, keep it low. We don't really want to burn it. And what you're going to do now is you're going to take your brush. Before I do that, I'm just going to turn it over just once so that you can see it's going to start to get toasty, brown. All right. And I'm going to take my brush and my glaze. And some people also put a little sesame oil in this too. And you're just going to brush the top of your onigiri. And as we said, shoyu, soy sauce, and mirin is going to cause things to get brown. Okay. I have to apologize for the shape of my onigiri today. I have had a hand surgery, so my hand is not bending as much as it normally would. So I've got slightly misshapen triangles, but here we are. Okay. And this is just toasting it. You're not cooking anything, but you're creating a nice toasty exterior. And again, it's one of my favorite things. You can also grill this on like a wire mesh thing, but we don't generally have those here in the States. You can toast it in the oven, in the toaster oven. I'm told you can do that. And if you're really, really careful, you can put it under the broiler, but I have burnt things that way. So I'm going to start turning this again. And I'm going to brush the other side.
Deb, we've also made it on the grill too, actually. You know, those little asparagus, you know, those little, whatchamacallit.
Yes.
So it's not really a mesh grill, but where you cook your asparagus, I would put it on there. Nice.
Okay. So basically, you're just going to be brushing, turning every minute or so. This is something you need to keep an eye on. I have been told, but I have never done it before, that you can freeze yaki onigiri. Have you done that, Yuko or Naoko-san? Have you done that?
I've never done it, but I've seen the frozen Yakionigiri sold at Maruichi.
Yes.
Actually, I've never frozen my own Yakionigiri, but yes, I have actually bought the Yakionigiri from Ajinomoto, and it tastes pretty good.
So how do you heat it back up again?
Microwave. I also, just like you freeze your, like I freeze my leftover rice.
Yes.
Thing, microwave.
Okay.
Actually, the burnt part of rice we call okoge.
Okay.
So that okoge looks so delicious.
That one, that's what you want.
Yes, that's what we want. I think the reason why Yakionigiri is so delicious is because of the okoge, right? You can experience the little bit of the crunchiness on the surface,
Yes.
but it's still, you know, a rice ball inside.
So you can see, everybody, that this getting this nice crunchy brown exterior. Okay. And
And it's almost like osenbe, right? When rice becomes very crunchy.
yeah. So it's all, you know, you do it a couple of times until you're ready, the rice is heated through. And then it's just really one of these wonderful treats of rice making. And then flip it over again. And you see,
I'm also thinking, Deb, you're starting to smell a really nice smell, right?
Yes.
Of shoyu,
yes.
a little bit of burntness.
Yep. And you're just brushing. And so if you have 3 or 4 of them, you know, you can do this all at one time. I'm going to stop my share for a second and ask everybody to show me how you're doing. All right. Yeah. Oh, nice. Wow. Excellent job. Excellent job. Great, Emma. Nice. How's everybody doing? Okay.
Thank you.
Margot, how you doing? Okay.
Oh,
So we are, I'm a little over time, but is everybody okay? Just a few more minutes? All right, great. All right. And the very last thing we're going to do, let me do my shares. We're going to get our cucumber back and get that cut up and ready to go. So I'm going to turn my pan off now. Set it to the side and clean off my area.
Naoko-san, don't you think people who would make their own homemade shake flake, and if they can make yakionigiri at home, that is jokyusha, right? Advanced onigiri makers.
Yeah.
I agree. I've never made the yakionigiri at home.
So you are all now very advanced jokyusha onigiri makers.
Okay, this is, it's a little bit too high here, but all right. So now what we're going to do is take your yakionigiri out of the pan, put it on your plate here. Okay, just put it on the side here. And because pickles are very, very common part of every Japanese meal, and this being, again, the simplest pickle, I think I picked the wrong plate because I picked a plate that's dipped a little bit, so I didn't get as much salt on it, but I'll just put it on one more time, but I can still feel that it has released some liquid, and I'm just rubbing the salt off with my hands. I'm not washing it off, okay? Or you can wipe it off with a wet paper towel. But you really want to leave some there. And let me just wipe this area up. And I'll take my knife, paring knife, and you can certainly cut like that, but generally Japanese cut naname on a diagonal like this. And you're just going to cut thin slices, not terribly thin, but you know, about 1/4 of an inch like that. If you taste the pickle, you're going to see that it's just super crunchy. Okay. And numbers are usually done odd, 3 and 5, you know, 2 and 4. 4 is avoided because she means death in Asian cultures. So I'm going to put my, whoops. Cucumbers there with my little momiji on there. And you have your onigiri.
yes.
Side. Okay, like that. Can I see everybody's? Can we take a group picture? Let's see how you're doing. And then we will say itadakimasu.
Give me 1 minute. I am finishing up one more onigiri
Okay, great, great, great.
in that picture.
Okay, so I'm gonna stop my share. There we go. Oh, nice job, Jen. Beautiful. Margot, how you doing? You're a first timer. Adrian, Ikuyo-san.
It's mine.
Super. Patsy, yay. Is that your game
so
food tonight?
delicious.
Did you make a heart out of that? That's your game food. Miriam, awesome. Wow, 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 wow. Great.
Yes, wonderful.
everyone. Oh, I'm impressed. Lance, super. All right. And the other thing is to remember, serve things on smaller plates. If you have a big plate with 2 or 3 things, looks a little lonely. So just smaller plate. Excellent. All right. So can we have everybody show their stuff? And Melko-san, is it okay to take a picture?
Or let me turn off my camera and take a picture.
Okay. Super. Can everybody say onigiri?
Onigiri.
Awesome. Wow. Great job, everyone. Beautiful. And now, the best part, you get to eat. Before Japanese eat, they put their hands together and they have a form of appreciation. This is not a religious prayer. It shows kansha, which is appreciation for the person who made the food, cooked the, brew the food, packed the food. So all the way down the line. And we say, itadakimasu. Everybody say itadakimasu, which literally means I receive. Okay, so please take a bite. Is everybody okay on time? Yeah. I will just tell you very quickly. I'm just going to share my screen one more time, see if I can get that up. This month, as we did the itadakimasu, is Onigiri Action Month for Table for Two. Table for Two is an organization, and it's Japanese NPO that is dedicated to helping the food imbalance in the world, where some people have too much food and some people do not have enough. We do this in a couple of ways. We teach healthy eating courses in schools, from anywhere from kindergarten all the way up to you guys, high school. And we also have this campaign during October called Onigiri Action, where people take a picture of onigiri, the hashtag Onigiri Action, and upload it to their social media or our social media, and 5 school meals are donated to children in need around the world and including in the United States. This is how it is. You take a picture, you upload it, and school meals are donated, all based and supported by our supporters, who are a number of different companies, Japanese and American companies around, in Japan and the United States. So here's how it works. You take a picture, you upload it, and then you see this map of where all of these pictures come from. So it's really quite an amazing thing. We did, I think, somewhere in the range of 300,000 photographs last year from all over Japan, and 1.5 million school meals were donated. And this year, our sub-theme is Show Your State Pride with State Onigiri. And Patsy has done an amazing Lone Star State onigiri. I'm originally from New York. I made an everything bagel onigiri over here. If you're from Hawaii, spam onigiri, or you can take a picture with your favorite sports team, baseball team. I wonder who that would be, and just participate in this program. And so the last part of it is you can continue eating, but I'll just tell you that final words for the end of a meal our gochiso sama deshita. Sama deshita. And again, another expression of kancha. So thank you very much, everybody. I'm sorry I ran over a little bit. I will get a little bit less verbose and do this a little quicker the next time. Oh, I forgot, our next one is going to be, I do have a picture of that. Let me share the screen one more time. So our second in the series is Nikujaga. And Patsy, I remade it and held it back for my husband this time, so that's his dinner.
Looks great.
This is a meat and potato dish, another home style meal. And if anyone has ever had sukiyaki, they know that these flavors of soy sauce, sake, and sugar sort of permeate the food. So we'll be doing that.
And Nikujaga will be hosted by Patsy in Houston.
Yes.
So all of you, Patsy, our registration page is probably going to be up in like maybe a week or so, maybe?
Yes, definitely. We hope to have it up by the middle of next week.
So as soon as it's up, please come and join us again. We're taking turns hosting, and that in itself, Patsy, isn't it wonderful?
It is indeed. It is indeed. So much fun.
Does anyone have any questions or final comments or something? Peter, how did it go? Margot, was it easier than you thought, or did it work?
It was, I was ready. Yeah. So it was easier than I thought. Yeah.
Good.
It's a lot better with short grain rice. I cooked it while we were talking. So the ones
Yes.
you see in front of you, or no, sorry.
Or the short grain rice, great.
Here we go.
The long grain, yeah, it's got to be inside the plastic or else it's not going to survive.
Just mix it all around, make a nice fried rice with that. Japanese rice, the short grain rice, is one of the interesting qualities is that it tastes as good cold as it does hot. And so you see, that's why you see this as part of picnics, food that's eaten out, and it tastes really quite delicious. It's called sticky rice, but there's another sticky rice in Japan called mochigome, which is another type of it's called sweet short grain rice. It's used to make wagashi or Japanese mochi desserts.
And it's actually stickier.
Much stickier, if you can wrap your mind around that. Okay.
Yes,
So,
thank you, Deb. Thank you so much. This was wonderful. It was actually, I didn't cook along, but it was fun. And like you said, I actually learned something too, like I said, right? There's always something we can always learn. And I grew up eating and making rice balls. So thank you so much, Deb. And thank you everybody for joining us. I know this is a Saturday for all of you. You know, I'm sure Patsy and everybody at Georgia as well redo this for you, and it makes us so happy to see you all. You sacrificing a Saturday is wonderful. Thank you. And for our friends in Houston and Georgia, I hope I will see you for Nikujaga. And if not, all three of us are constantly doing wonderful online programs. I think we are, right, Patsy?
Indeed, indeed.
Yes, so now you can join us from anywhere. So check our website out, and we cannot wait to see and cook along with you for Nikujaga.
thank you. And don't forget your extra salmon flakes in the refrigerator, in a jar. Use them all through all different kinds of things, sprinkled on salads, rice, anything.
Cook
Okay.
with pasta.
Rice ball.
Exactly. Okay.
Anybody, if you can join the Onigiri Action, I think it's a wonderful program by Table for Two. So please check their website out as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you for Nikujaga.
Good luck.
Thank you. Bye.